we are going to talk all about my addiction and how I'm going to share about me with you guys because I know a lot of you guys don't know a lot about me and you are probably wondering, so I'm going to tell you all about me. So come on in, take a seat, don't be shy. Nobody's going to bite you in here. This is a safe space to talk about recovery from addiction and all the things that we want to talk about. So come on in, hang out, let's do this. So, okay, so my addiction started, you guys, when I was 17 years old. Okay, I struggled with my self image and my self worth ever since I was a little girl. I had extreme anxiety to the point where I used to think that people were going to break into our house and kidnap me. I would have dreams of being kidnapped and seeing the license plate of the kidnapping car, and I could wake up the next morning and write it down. Isn't that scary? So I had very vivid dreams and very vivid fears of being kidnapped, being carjacked, being stolen, all kinds of stuff since a young age. Okay, so I had really bad anxiety. One of the things that I think contributed to my anxiety was my poor father. I love him so much, but that man used to watch America's Most Wanted and Unsolved Mysteries all the time. And I would be playing with my father's hair because he would pay me $20 for an hour to play with his hair. Twist it like this. He loved to have his hair pulled. So I'd just be standing behind him while he was laying on the recliner and I'd be pulling it. He loved it. Okay. And he paid me $20 to do it. So hell, $20 make you holla, you know? So I would sit there from the age of like 5 years old and up and listen to these fucking horror stories about inmates and fucking people committing crimes and shit. So I think that might have had a little bit to do with it. But I digress. So ever since I was little, I was always afraid. I always had anxiety. And so once I got older and I was about 14 years old, I noticed I was different from everybody else since day one. Okay, I went to a school with all white people and like two black people and two other Mexican kids. Okay. And so I knew I was different from the very beginning. People made sure that I knew I was different by calling me things like spick, burrito, taco, wetback, that kind of stuff. So I always knew that I was different and I felt really insecure about being different. I didn't like being different. I wanted to be blonde haired and blue eyed like all my friends. I wanted to be a white girl. So, but maybe that changed once I got older. Let me just tell you that. So by the time I was 14, I had started to struggle with my weight. And when I say struggle with my weight, I wasn't heavy at all. I think I maybe was like 10 pounds overweight, but to me, I was huge because all my friends were so tiny and so skinny and lanky and their boobs were flat and I had big old titties and I was just fucking developed way before my friends. I had a period at 11 years old. Okay. So I just felt really different. So my insecurities started out. Well, I was at band camp that year and I was like, you know what? I'm going to lose this weight. I'm going to get this boy that I like that's at the basketball camp because I was at band camp. He was at basketball camp and we would see each other every day. And so what I did while I was at band camp that year for the summer, I started starving myself. I would only eat one Snickers bar and a Diet Coke every day. And I lost like 35 pounds, 40 pounds that summer. So when I went into, I think it was ninth grade, I came back into ninth grade, you guys, and honey, my glow up was real. Everybody noticed. Everybody. Okay. And I had just made the dance team that year. So I was on the basketball team, the fast pitch softball team, and I was also on the dance team. So I was wearing my little cheerleader uniform and people were like, damn, maybe Nicole is fine, right? And that was my first year that I started dating this boy named JR. Okay. So JR ended up cheating on me with this girl named Rhonda. And I'll never forget it. When he cheated on me, y'all, my heart was broken. But that also kind of set the ball rolling for me. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to be the one in charge from now on. I'm not going to let my feelings get hurt. And the next boy I date, this is not going to happen, right? So my ninth into 10th grade year, I started dating this guy named Robert. He was my first love, my first everything. We had sex, all that, right? Um, Me and him started dating, and I fell in love with him. He fell in love with me. We were each other's firsts. Well, like I said, I told y'all I wasn't going to let myself get my feelings hurt anymore. So I had turned into a little cheating ass hoe. Okay. I was cheating on him when I was my 10th grade year, my 11th grade year, my 12th grade year. I was just a little hoe. And a lot of that was because I was using substances. I was cheating and I was partying. Oh my gosh, so much. So by my 11th grade year, I had made friends with Jessica and Jerry. Jessica is another Mexican girl. Shout out to you, Jessica, if you watch this. They watch my shit. And Jerry was my best friend. He was gay, but he hadn't came out yet. We all knew he was gay, though. He didn't come out until we graduated high school. So me, Jessica, Jerry, and Angela, we were smoking every morning before we would go to school. I'm talking chief and blunt, y'all. Okay? The first time I ever chiefed a blunt or drank alcohol was with my boyfriend Robert. I was at his house and he had all his friends over, and he went to a different school than I went to. He went to a school in the city and I went to a school in the country. So, and I mean the country, Piercy, Arkansas. Okay? And so I smoked and I drank at his house for the first time, and the drink was good. I loved being drunk, y'all. Being drunk, it gave me confidence. I fucking did whatever I wanted to do. I laughed, everything, right? And cause see, now I'm confident. Now I do all the things I want to do and say what I want to say as an adult. But when I was younger, I was not like this. I was very unsure of myself. So back then, alcohol would give me the strength to do the things like I'm doing now and not give a fuck what people thought, you know? And so I loved it. Well, I became addicted to smoking weed and alcohol very quickly. I was using all the time. I was drinking vodka in the mornings before school, y'all. Like, I was a fucking crazy girl. I was a party animal. Um, I was a party girl. So around in between 10th and 11th grade, I started seeking out stimulants. And the reason why was because um, I knew that like smoking weed was making me gain weight. So my mom took me to the doctor because I was complaining to her and she wanted to help me and she didn't know any better. My parents didn't know about addiction really. They didn't know about mental health back then. This is I'm 41. Okay? So mind you, this is in the I was in high school in 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 2000. I graduated in 2000. Okay? So my mom took me to the doctor, and the doctor wrote me a prescription for a medication called phentermine. Okay? Phentermine is Adipex. It's a diet pill that doctors will give you if you struggle with your weight. Okay? So I got the diet pills, I started taking them, and he would only give me, I think, like 30 days worth. But honey, I took them motherfuckers and they helped me be able to focus. They helped me be able to get my work done, and they helped me lose weight, right? Well, once I ran out of that prescription, I started going to Walmart and buying ephedra. Back then, things like Hydroxycut, Truvi Boost, the medicine that Anna Nicole Smith took, it all had ephedra in it still, okay? And the ephedra is the active ingredient that they would use to make methamphetamine, okay? That's why they would go and they would buy pills from Walgreens and stuff like that to pull the Sudafed and ephedra out of the pills, okay? So I would go and get those pills over the counter and they would help me keep my weight down. Well, probably like right before I got out of high school, they did away with having ephedra in them and they started making them without it. So you couldn't get ephedra like that anymore, okay? So I said, fuck, what am I going to do now? And that is when I tried cocaine for the first time. I tried cocaine. I loved it. It was everything. And so I was like, this is where it's at. I can use cocaine and it's short acting. I can use it. It'll help me to, keep my appetite at bay and I can be skinny still, right? Well, cocaine was really expensive. By the time I graduated high school, I had figured that out. And I was like, man, I just can't take cocaine like this. It's really expensive. So I started doing methamphetamine. And I had smoked methamphetamine with my friend Marcus for the first time over at his house. I'll never forget it. It made my hair grow, y'all. I could feel my hair growing. Okay? And I was like, this is it. This is what I'll do. Methamphetamine will help me stay the course. And I started using meth every day. I was working a full time job, just bought a brand new car, got out of high school, and was taking meth and going to college and trying to manage my life on methamphetamine and go to college and make good grades, pay my car payment, pay my credit card bills because I had just gotten credit cards, because I had just gotten credit because I was 18. I mean, just I was doing the most. Well, needless to say, I couldn't handle it. And I ended up dropping out of college and just working, right? Well, one thing about me is I'm really a good worker. Okay. I'm very consistent with anything that I say I'm going to do, I do it and I follow through, you know? So I was working at the JC Penney doing makeup for people. Then I lost that job because I was high and doing stupid shit. And I got a job working for Shoe Carnival. And then I got a job working for the revenue office. And I worked at the revenue office for many, many years. But while I was working at the revenue office, while I was working at Shoe Carnival, the tail end, me and Robert broke up. Okay. Because he figured out that I was, you know, cheating on him. And he figured that out. He got really upset. He dumped me for the one and final time. Okay. And that is when I started dating LD. LD and I met at a party. He's passed away now. We met at a party. It was a meth party. People were doing dope there and shooting dope. And he came out of the back room. I'll never forget it. And I looked at him and I thought, he is so fine. He had dark brown hair, green eyes, a really prominent Italian nose. And I love, to me, he was sexy as hell. And y'all don't get it twisted. My husband knows I tell these stories all the time. I'm just telling you how I felt back then. I thought, oh, he's so fine. So I gave him my phone number and we talked the whole night high on meth. I didn't know that he'd injected meth and he had just come back from the bedroom doing a 40 unit bump. At this time, I was only smoking it and snorting it. I was still small time back then. So, like 3 days went by, and one day I got a call while I was at work, and it was him. And he wanted me to come over and hang out. So I went to his house, and that is when I learned that he was homeless. He was literally living with his grandma, sleeping on the couch. And you know what? That was the first moment I got the feeling that I should help this person. They need me. Um, I can save them. Okay. Which, honey, you can't save them. You cannot do it. Don't even try. But that's just me speaking to you because I know. Okay. Well, Captain Save-A-Ho and Nicole came out, and I started trying to help him pay his fines and fees, all the things that you need to do to get yourself on the right track of the law because he's on probation. So I did all that. I paid off his fines and fees. I helped him get a job. I got us a place to live, which let me just tell y'all what it was like the first place I ever got my own first place to live. It was a 1 bedroom efficiency across from the strip club downtown Hot Springs, and it was disgusting. The roaches had roaches, okay? One time in particular, me and LD were knocking boots, and I was on top of him, and all of a sudden I look down, and there is a fucking roach on his shoulder, this big, while I'm riding the D. There's a roach. And I was like, ah, ting! Kept on going. Oh my God. Can you believe it? I was so fucking crazy. But it was really nasty. It was gross. So we lived there for 6 months, and my dad kept bugging me to come by. He wanted to see where I was living, right? I was like, Dad, you can't come here. No, 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 no. Because I'm high. I'm doing meth. I'm working and all this stuff, but I'm still high, you know? My dad and my mom show up, and my dad was fucking livid. He was like, hell no, you ain't living up in this motherfucker. And that's when my mom and dad helped me and LD find a nice little trailer right down the road from their house on Amity Road. And it was so nice. It was fully furnished with brand new furniture. And it was a little baby blue single wide trailer from like 1985, but it was so nice. It was like a little old couple had lived there, I guess. And so everything was in mint condition, okay? So we moved in, right? we moved in and it was wonderful. I was so grateful because just living in that environment was just depressing, you know? Because at night we could hear like the pimps beating the prostitutes and people crying. It was just really bad. It was really depressing. So we moved out of there and I continued doing meth. He continued doing meth. I got him a job. I bought him a car, all these things, you guys. Like I treated this guy like a fucking prince. And probably like a year and a half to 2 years into our relationship, that's when he started to physically abuse me. And people told me that he would do this. People told me that he had a past history of abusing his exes. And you know how it is when you love somebody or you like somebody, you're like, oh, he won't do it to me, honey. He won't do it to me. Yes, he will. Well, I thought, I could change him. And so I didn't listen to what people told me. And I continued in our relationship and he began to hit me. He started to do things like, it started out not with physical pinches and stuff. It started out with objects, like I remember we had just ordered a bunch of Taco Bell and we had a bunch of friends over and we were all sitting in the living room eating and I was sitting beside him on the couch and he got mad about something I said or something like that. And he grabbed a Supreme Bean burrito, took a bite out of it and shoved it in my eyeball in front of everybody. And I was so embarrassed. I started crying, and he was making fun of me for it in front of everybody. It was just really embarrassing. Then another time, he took a sippy cup with milk in it and threw it from across the room, and it hit me in the forehead and split my forehead open. Blood started gushing everywhere, okay? And I ran in the bedroom, tied a tourniquet around my head, and fell asleep on my bed. Well, when I woke up like an hour and a half later, blood was everywhere. So I made him take me to the hospital and they had to stitch my forehead up. Um, the way I got away from LD was so embarrassing because I wasn't leaving him. The way I got away from him was he left me. He left me to be with another girl. And I came home from work and I was high one night, and as usual. And I came home and he had not come home that night. So I was like, oh, I'm just going to go to sleep. I went to sleep, and when I woke up the next morning, he had not come home. So I was like, why isn't he home yet? But still, again, I was just like not thinking he was cheating on me. Well, I woke up and I started calling his sister. I started calling everybody. His dad lived with us. So his dad was like, I don't know where he's at. And that morning when I woke up, I do what I do still to this day. I take all my jewelry off and I put it like in my little jewelry holder. When I woke up the next morning, all my jewelry was gone. And I used to buy expensive ass diamond rings because I had hella credit back then. So, um, all my jewelry had been robbed from me and he was nowhere to be found. Well, his sister finally got a hold of him and found out he was at Trashley's house. Ashley, this girl that was best friends with his sister. And that's when she told me he's not coming back. And I was like, fuck that shit. I'm fucking taking everything. So I went to Walmart with my friend Nicole to go get boxes. And on the way out from the Walmart, there was 4 guys out there that were friends and they all had big ass Dodge trucks. And I said, hey guys, what's up? And they said, no, what's up with you? I said, I'm in a domestic violence relationship and I'm trying to move out of my house like literally in 30 minutes. Can y'all come and help me move my stuff? And that's when these good old cowboys loaded up their trucks and came and helped me move all my shit out of that trailer. I didn't know those boys from Adam, and they helped me. I took everything because it was all mine. I paid for all of it. I took the fucking doorknobs. I took the fucking light bulbs. I took the motherfucking dressers, his boxers, everything. I took all of it because I paid for all of it. And I left. He didn't care though because he has moved in with that new girl. That's what he would do. He was the kind of guy who would move in with the next best thing to use that person and suck them dry. Okay. So that was that. And I was moved in with my friend Nikki and I went down a deep spiral. I started smoking crack. I started shooting meth and I had been over at my friend Nate's house. And the way I started shooting up, because I had never shot up before in my life, I always promised myself I wouldn't do it. I was at my friend Nate's house and he was cooking dope. And I went back to the back bedroom because I would always do hot rails And all my friends were in the back bedroom, and I was like, what are all these people doing back here? And that's when I walked in, and they were all fixing up. They were all getting ready to shoot up their doses, right? And I was like, what the hell are y'all doing? I want to shoot up too. And they were like, no, you don't, Nicole. That's what everybody always tells you. No, you don't. No, you don't. And then you see them doing it, and they look so high, and you're like, yeah, I do. And so I told them if they didn't do it for me, I would do it myself, and I'd probably fuck my shit up. So that's when they did it for me. And let me just tell y'all something. They didn't prepare me a little dose to ease me into the meth high. They shot me up with 40 units of straight maple syrup looking ass shot. Okay? If you know anything about shooting methamphetamine, trigger warning, then you know what I'm talking about when I tell you about a thick ass shot. These fools loaded up a 40 unit bump, 40 units for a first time person. Okay, and when you tipped the syringe, the bubble in the syringe moved so slow because of how thick the substance was inside of the shot. It was crazy. And so when they gave me that first shot, bitch, I was spun out. I was spun and done and hooked from that day forth. And I did never want to do it another way after that. So that night, while I was spun and done, I locked myself in the bathroom and I taught myself how to shoot up on my own. So I would never have to ask another person to do it for me ever again. Okay? And that's how I got hooked on shooting up meth. And that from that day forward, I shot everything up. Cocaine, methamphetamine, oxys, everything. Um, so 6 months after I started shooting dope, I was riding passenger in my car because this guy named Quincy, one of Nate's friends, was driving it. And we got pulled over. We were set up. And that's when I got my first and only charge for possession of a controlled substance, a Class C felony. Okay. Um, I had never been in trouble in my life. I think the most trouble I had gotten in was I got a public intox when I was 17 because I was a drunk. I told you guys I drank a lot when I was younger. And that's it. That's all. So I had never really been to jail or anything. So when we got arrested, um, the guy I got arrested with, he was big time. So he gave me all the phone numbers that I needed to call, and I got us bailed out. We were bailed out within the hour. We didn't stay the night in jail at all. So that kind of set the ball in motion for my legal issues. Well, they put me on probation for 3 years. I failed every drug test, and I went to treatment like 5 times, and then they finally sent me to prison. They sent me to prison on a probation revocation. I did about a year in prison, and I got out, paroled out to where I live now in Little Rock, and I started going to like meetings, sober living homes, and in and out of AA and NA trying to stay sober. That's when I met my husband in 2012, and my husband was on methadone, and he was prescribed it as for like recovery, the MAT program. But here in Arkansas back then, you could get the pills prescribed to you because Neil had pain management and he had an addiction, right? So he was getting a prescription for like 365 methadone 10 pills a month. Okay? So that's a lot of 10 milligram pills. Okay, so when I met him, he shared some of those with me. And honey, let me just tell you, me, methadone do not mix. I would take methadone and I would literally be crazy as hell, staying up for days without any sleep, not methadone, and staying in a perpetual state of nodding to where I was trying to function but couldn't. And so I just fucked shit up even more while I was on methadone. Okay. And then I got pregnant in 2013. And I was addicted to meth and oxys and methadone and Xanax and all this shit. And I went to my mother and father-in-law and I told them I would have an abortion because I didn't think that they would want me to be a part of their family, because they had always been mad at me. Like they blamed a lot of my husband's addiction problems on me. Because when I got with my husband, both of our addictions fed into each other's addictions and we just got like really wild. So when I told them I would have an abortion, they told me they didn't want me to and that they accepted me and we all talked about it and I felt really good about that. And I was like, okay, I'm going to get sober. I'm going to turn my life around. I'm not going to use drugs ever again, right? And I meant that with everything in my being. I was trying to stay sober. But I failed miserably at it. I was able to get off all the opiates and benzos, but I could not stop shooting meth, you guys. And that's what I struggled with throughout my pregnancy was injecting methamphetamine. I gave birth to my son on July 4th, and I was under the influence. He was born July 4th of 2014, and he was the most perfect baby you've ever seen in your life. There was nothing wrong with my son. He was completely healthy, and they didn't take him from me. They let me go home with him 2 days later, which is crazy to me because nowadays that wouldn't happen. But this was back, this was not nowadays. So they let me take Nate home, and I started my, learning to be a parent. My mom had flown down from New York, and she was trying to teach me how to be a mom. And because I got to go home with my son, don't think I was stupid. I knew how fucking lucky I was. And I had made a deal with God. I had told God, I promise if you let me take my son home, I'll never use drugs again. And so for 90 days, I white knuckled trying to stay sober. Okay. I white knuckled it. I didn't have any real like recovery support. It was just me and my husband trying to white knuckle sobriety. And we failed miserably. We failed miserably. And about 90 days later, I ran into my old drug dealer, Z, at the gas station. And he gave me a Xanax. And that was all it started. All that had to happen for my addiction to start itself in motion again. I started taking Xanaxes on the sly, trying to like relax, from being a mom. And I relapsed back on methamphetamine and opioids. And the rest was history. Me and my friend Tara were using all the time. I would leave my son with my mother-in-law and go to my friend Tara's house to get high and be stupid. And I'm so grateful for my mother and father-in-law because they took care of my son when I couldn't do it. And so I never drugged my son with me to the dope man's house or anything like that. I just would leave him with my mother-in-law. So probably about 2 days before my son's first birthday, CPS came and knocking on my door. And guess who sent them? My best friend Tara. My best friend Tara sent CPS to my house because she was pissed off at me. She owed me money. I asked her for the money. She didn't want to give it to me. So I went and got it from her old man. She was dating a cop at the time, a Little Rock cop. So I just called her Little Rock cop boyfriend and said, hey, Tara owes me money. Will you pay me back? And he said, sure, come and get it. So me and my husband went and got the money. No harm, no foul. Well, she was pissed because I went over her. And so she called CPS on me. Well, that's all that it took because, of course, I couldn't pass a drug test. I was getting high back then. So they took my son. They wouldn't let my child go to his Gigi and Papa's house. They were terrible, terrible. CPS was horrible to me. They basically kept me and my husband from having family support because we asked, can our son please go to his Gigi and Papa's house because we don't want him to go to a stranger's house. And he was not even it was 2 days before his first birthday. They wouldn't let it happen. They made my son go to foster care. So, which is bullshit. Bullshit. That should have never happened. Your child should always go to next of kin if that next of kin is safe and not using drugs. And that's the way it was. So, I immediately put myself into rehab that day and got sober and got my son back in a year. The rest is history. I worked my ass off to get my son back, okay? There was no way I was going to let them keep my child from me, okay? And that's what they were wanting to do. They wanted to keep my son from me forever. But I worked my ass off and I won custody back of my son. And the rest is history. I've been sober ever since. That's a short synopsis of my story, if y'all wanted to know it. Yeah, they do help in certain situations, but like this situation, my son should have been placed with his next of kin. they were not allowing that to happen because they said my mother and father-in-law were too old, which is just excuse for we want to get paid, so we're taking your child. Why would you take an infant and not place it with next of kin if there's next of kin available to take said infant? That is not in the best interest of the child, you know. And I like didn't pass go. I did not collect $200. Like I went into treatment right away, and I got put on MAT, and I have been sober with MAT ever since 2015. And so I have worked really hard. For the first 2 years I was sober, I didn't really even have social media, you guys. I didn't start really making content online until about 2018. And so that's why I see so much fuckery going on. And I'm like, no, you shouldn't be posting your husband and your ex-husband or ex-boyfriend and use business online for everybody to see. That's not how it works. That's not what a healthy person in recovery would do. A healthy person in recovery would get off the internet and really work hard on healing themselves and taking care of their family, you know. But when you have created a platform or where you have created a way for you to make money and you don't have anything else to fall back on like Jessica doesn't, then she can't just leave the internet. She's kind of like tied to this. So why not, you know, like my suggestions were to really focus on her recovery and getting and staying sober and healing and sharing other people's recovery stories and prison reform stories until she gets better, you know? And I'm telling you, people would be so proud of her for that. But Jessica will never see that because Jessica's blinded by her own hatred for, you know, other people. Isn't this red color pretty? So, yeah. I have worked really hard, you guys, to get to where I'm at. So, like, that's why when people try things to me like, um, why are you talking about this? Da, 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 da. It's like, shut the fuck up. You know, like, I know what I'm talking about and I know what I'm doing is the right thing because the truth is important. Okay? Especially when you have vulnerable young people following your every fucking word, dude, and looking up to you. And you're just lying. You know? What if I was on here lying to you guys 24/7, you know? What would you guys do? How would you guys feel if me and Neil broke up and I was just on here like spreading Neil's fucking dirty laundry all over the internet? You know? I don't even really talk about the man who abused me as much as I could if I wanted to, you know, and he's passed away. So, I mean, it's like I don't even talk about that like I could. I could make a whole channel on recovering from DV and narcissistic abuse or whatever Jessica says, but I don't do that. Hold on, guys. I'm trying to get this damn mascara on the right way. I know, right? And you know, when I finally got out of the domestic violence relationship I was in, like I moved on with my life and I began healing. I didn't constantly like interject myself into that man's life. I stayed far away from him, you guys. Like far away from him. Because I knew if I went back around him, he would probably suck me back in, and I would try to save him again and try to help him. And, honestly, I kept that man from dying for so many years, helping him. And then when I finally got out of his life is when he finally died, because he was so irresponsible and did such dangerous, careless things. It's really sad for his family, and I do feel for them, because it's true. Like, I really protected him from himself for so many years, making sure he had a way to support himself if I wasn't there, by helping him get a job, buying him a car, like all those things I did because I cared about him and I didn't want him to be in a bad spot. Even though he did me dirty, I still cared about him. Who is texting me? So, oh, sorry about that. I don't know what that did. And if I did have a child with that man, it's even more reason to keep your motherfucking mouth shut to protect your kids. It's even more reason to have your mouth shut because of your children. Okay? God. Do you see the kind of people that comment like that? How old are you, Samantha? How old are you? 17, 12? Like, do you have children of your own, sweetheart? Looks good, huh? I'm doing great. It's like you can't. It's so sad that these people can't think for themselves. It's really sad. Oh, I need to do the other eyebrow. The other eyebrow looks crappy compared to this one. You know what I'm saying? Like when you have a kid and you have a situation like this, okay? What you need to do is you need to shut the fuck up and follow the law. Follow the law, do the court, do what you need to do. You don't come online publicly bashing the other party. You don't come online trying to expose this other party's shortcomings and law breaking. That doesn't need to be done. It's all documented, okay, by the law. The law will see all that, okay? You coming on and adding fuel to the fire only makes you look vindictive, okay? It only makes her look bad. Do you understand what I'm saying? All she has to do is shut up and let Reese do his own, bury himself, which he's not doing a very, like going outside and shooting a gun in public, okay, was the stupidest thing he could have done. But he's also not coming online and publicly bashing her, okay? He's also not coming online and making videos about her, and she's doing that to him, okay? Y'all all need to remember that. But anyways, I don't want to talk about that. This video is not about that. This video was just talking about my story and doing makeup for fun. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. There's plenty of videos where you can comment what you're commenting now and share your opinion over there, okay? Okay. So, no, you're the only person in the chat still drinking the Kool-Aid, baby. Okay, but that's okay. Drink it up. If you enjoy the taste, drink it up. I prefer the taste of the truth. That's what I prefer. So if you like omission of truth sprinkled in with lies, then baby, drink that Kool-Aid up all you want. All right? Over here, the Kool-Aid's going to be a little sour because it has the truth in it. And I know that's hard for you to swallow, but it is what it is. So Paco came out to say hi. Say hi, Paco. This is my co-host. What you got to say? What do you think about all this bullshit? What do you think about all of it? Huh? Tell him what you think about it, Mr. Makeup Man. Come here. He wants to come over here. He's trying to twinkle toes his way over here. What you think about all this bullshit? It's bullshit. That's what I think. I don't know. I think my mama knows what she's talking about. That's what I think. I mean, I listen to her all day long. I should know. This is my co-host, Paco, you guys. He's always in the background of all my videos, just sitting there peacefully chilling out. Okay? Look into the eyes of Paco. Paco knows the truth. Don't you? Did you know when they do that little thing with their nose and they in your face, like that's like a way of them like telling you that they love you and they submit to you. So I love you too, Paco. I love you too, my little prince. Prince Paco. Pico train. Okay, I gotta go, guys. I love you. I hope you love the makeup look. Oh, did my other queen come out? Let me go see if Jenna came out. My poor dog. I was calling her Jessica for the longest. Jessica! Jessica! Is what I was saying. This is my other baby, Jenna. She's blind. So I love you guys. I got to clean this house up and mop the floors and all that good stuff. So I will catch you guys on the flip side. This is our finished makeup look. So I hope you guys enjoyed doing makeup with me and hearing a little bit about my story. All right. Love you guys.